Well, just about every pollster in the U.S. will tell you a red wave is about to crash over the nation, but some top Democrats seem to have gone on a bit of a bender. They're all still claiming they've got the advantage with less than 2 weeks. Count them two, Utah. So who is right here? For days, we've been telling you the Fox News predicts House Republicans, they're going to win big November 8th. They could end up with a majority of more than 30 seats. Nothing is certain right now. That's where it's trending. The Senate is going to be a bit closer, as you know, but a majority is a majority. Mouth's a mouth, right? Yep. But for some reason, the donkeys still have a bounce in their step. Earlier today, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer greeted the president in Syracuse and tried to convince him that bad polling was just an illusion.
The polling is so bad, no one can tell what's going on. But every state we have, Georgia, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, black area, we're getting turnout better than we expected. So let's hope.
Shame on you, Chuckles. Don't lie to an old man like that. He's feeble. You're trying to tell him the Democrats are going to win everything. Did you also tell him to send his savings to that Nigerian prince, like I did? Or to get some discount vinyl siding on his beach house? Or that John Fetterman is still a great candidate for Senate? By the way, Democrats reportedly in panic mode over his train wreck performance against Dr. Oz. The latest Real Clear Politics average shows Fetterman with a lead of just under a point. So solid, you guys. Not even at all within the margin of error. We're going to have more on that race in just a few minutes. But either way, the anxiety, very understandable if the GOP wins the House and the Senate. Biden is instantly a lame duck president. If they just win the House, he's just lame. He's still not going to get anything done. Progressives will be out for blood. They'll want more socialism. They want to steal more of your future. That means the party could fracture even more. Do Democrats have any reason to legitimately be optimistic, or did they get into Hunter's stash? Let's get into it. With tonight's party panel, we've got former Trump Advisory Board member and hoteling risk advising manager of directorsness. It is Jason Meister. It's a very official title. We've got Democrat strategist, former Biden campaign surrogate, and the man who single-handedly lights up my Washington monument. It's Kevin Walling. And the co-founder, well, did you see the shot behind you, Kevin? The co-founder of Based Politics, the glorious Hannah Cox. Welcome, everyone, one and all. So, Jason, I will start with you. You have to say that. You have to say our party's going to win because if you don't, you're somehow a traitor. They all do it. Republicans do it. Democrats do it. Former President Trump thinks he's still the president. Do you fault Chuck Schumer for lying to an old man like that?
No, I don't fault Chuck Schumer, but I think that if you really want to understand where these races are this close to the midterms, I think one place you would logically look is where money is being spent. And if you look at where money is being spent, Democrats are overwhelmingly spending money in blue states, and in fact, in deep blue states, states like New York, Oregon, Washington, and even Michigan, from what I've seen recently. And I think that that's a sign that they know that these races shouldn't be toss-ups are now toss-ups. And those Republicans that are running in those states are tightening the race. I think part of that is more of a general view that this is one of the most consequential midterm elections in our country's history, because if we don't take back the House, and when I say we, the Republicans, if we don't take back the House and the Senate, Democrats are just going to do exactly what they said that they would do. They're going to pack the courts. They're going to end the filibuster. They're going to make D.C. and Puerto Rico states, and they're going to pack the electorate with the millions of illegal aliens that they've flooded into our country. So I think that moderate Democrats and independents that are watching what they're saying, I think they realize that.
All right, so Kevin, where do you wish more money was being spent? As a Democrat, you have to look at the map, and there has to be some sense of frustration because it can't all go to Pennsylvania, because that race continues to tighten.
Yeah, and there's a ton of money flowing in. I think the Democrats put in $5 million last week, and the Republicans put in $6 million to Pennsylvania just this week. I'm hopeful, actually, looking at the numbers out of Ohio and North Carolina. I think Democrats, national Democrats, should play in the Buckeye State in Ohio. Tim Ryan is running one of the best campaigns I've ever seen. He's running neck and neck in a state that Donald Trump won twice by double digits, and giving J.D. Vance a real run for his money. So I think we should concentrate efforts there. And Sherry Beasley in North Carolina, the former state Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, is running really strong against Ted Budd, keeping it a 1-2 point race in North Carolina. Again, a state that went for Donald Trump
Tom
twice.
Bevan was on
so
last
I think
night, and he
those are
said
two
that that's actually
opportunities.
a 5-point race. He is, of course, the executive editor of Real Clear Politics, and he said it's not close. And anyone who says the North Carolina race is close is full of hot wind, which is fine. I mean, there are plenty of races where Democrats should be
no hot
optimistic.
wind here. I see some different polls. I see some different polls that give us some hope.
So far, Real Clear Politics and the aggregate method that they use has been pretty accurate because, you know, they really don't have a dog in this fight. And it's interesting because, like, some of the progressive polling in places like Oregon show that race is a dead heat, that a Republican could be elected governor for the first time in 40 years in the Beaver State. So it's interesting because, as Jason says, Hannah, that this is the most consequential election of our lifetime. I don't know that it feels that way to libertarians and independents. How do you feel about this?
Well, I think they say every election is the most consequential of our lifetimes. Then they need people to believe that, so they keep thinking there's a difference between the Democrats and Republicans. And as a whole, there's just not. Look, on some big social issues, sure, but when it comes to spending, you just get a little bit less worse results from Republicans. So I can be persuaded that we don't want Democrats to have a majority. I think if we did, we'd see even crazier progressive line items getting passed, like the PRO Act, where they're trying to push people out of freelance work, which they're still trying to do through the Labor Department. Things like Build Back Better. So I'm sympathetic that maybe we want Republicans to win out right now so we can hold them back. But long term, nothing really changes until the only real actual voter suppression in this country that's occurring legally changes, and that's ballot suppression, where we block third parties, we block libertarians, we block anybody who would actually offer a meaningful change to the status quo. And I think that as a whole, Americans are getting fed up with it. NOTA, none of the above. That's who actually won the popular vote in the last election. People are desperate for real options. And I think it's really funny watching the left run around and scream about democracy right now when they actively work to continue suppressing other voices outside of these two parties.
Independent voices. If you remember Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she was beside herself that Bernie Sanders got as close to the nomination as he did. And she said that the Democrat Party is there to keep people like that out of power. And it's like, good job. That's some real free thinking there. All right, well, where there's not a lot of thought, let's go back to the Pennsylvania Senate race. Poor John Fetterman versus Dr. Oz. Tuesday night's debate did not go well for Fetterman. His post-stroke performance seriously spooking Democrats who thought Senator Hoodie was a lock. At a rally yesterday, well, it was Wednesday, how about that? Fetterman admitted the debate weren't easy. Watch.
To be honest, doing that debate wasn't exactly easy. After that stroke, I got knocked down, but I got back up. And I'm going to fight for everyone in Pennsylvania who ever got knocked down that ever had to get back up.
Oh, putting on the Ritz. And now the big guns, they're being sent in to rescue his flailing campaign. President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris heading to Philly tomorrow for a campaign event with Fetterman. Wow, this will be great. Maybe the president will wander off stage and the vice president will talk about how great yellow school buses are. And then Fetterman can talk about fracking, no fracking. All right, a little too late for Fetterman, is it? Could that dynamic duo of duds hurt more than help, Jason?
Yeah, Kennedy, this is wonderful. I think this is the trick. I think they should put the three of them up on a stage with lots of cameras and mics. And I think Joe Biden should come out and unequivocally defend Fetterman's mental capacity while Kamala Harris cackles. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, Joe Biden said that he's an incredibly impressive candidate. He's amazingly bright. and he thinks he's he'll do an amazing job in office. So, look, it may be that there's a Fetterman-Biden ticket in 2024.
So it's very interesting here, Kevin, because whenever someone is doing well, doesn't matter which party, doesn't matter which race, it's got to be a race with national attention. Whenever someone is doing well, like Carrie Lake right now, they're going, oh my gosh, she's now, there's one poll that has her 5 points over Katie Hobbs, 11 points over Katie Hobbs. She has to be the VOP nom in 2024. So if Fetterman is doing such a great job, why aren't they talking about running him in 2024? If he's just amazing, because he's so amazing.
Well,
Kevin.
I think he's got to win this race right now. First off, and that race is tight enough, obviously in the polls. But listen, we are pulling out all the guns in terms of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden going there tomorrow.
Unfortunately, people are using those guns to put in their own mouths.
Obama.
Go ahead, sorry.
Well, I don't endorse that message
Nor do
tonight
I,
for any viewer watching.
Not
but listen,
for anyone.
You've got.
But I understand the
I think it's
sentiment.
actually going to be an interesting split screen. It's going to be an interesting split screen on November 5th, actually, because Donald Trump is going back to the Keystone State to campaign along Doug Mastriano and Dr. Oz. And you're going to see Joe Biden and Barack Obama together with Josh Shapiro and John Fetterman. And I think that's an interesting split screen in terms of what that message sends to voters in the Commonwealth. I think John Fetterman is actually going to pull this out and do well on election night.
I think well is a loose term.
Wow.
He could win.
He's gonna
Absolutely.
win.
No, he could win.
He's
wouldn't.
gonna win.
Okay, but here's the problem, Kevin. I don't want you to fill Democrats with false hope and bravado, because if they think he's going to win, they're just going to stay home, and that's not a good strategy for you. So you have to really tamp down
It's gonna
expectations
be a tight race.
a little bit. So, but I want to.
Maybe there should be another debate.
Yeah, I would love it. Okay, so because he deserves a mulligan. Let's be empathetic. Just wonderful people here. So Hannah, you talk about that split screen, Biden and Obama, Trump and Oz. Doesn't it just show how crappy our politics are?
I was going to say that movie Idiocracy kind of predicted this, but it was supposed to be like 500,000 years in the future, and yet here we are. So I feel a little bit gypped. I also think it's kind of hilarious that they're sending in Biden and Kamala, who are two of the least articulate politicians I've ever heard, to try to rile up support for this man who just had an incoherent debate performance. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And I think that there is a real problem right now. Look, I'm not bragging on the rights candidates by any means either, but this is 2 elections in a row now. We've seen Democrats run candidates who are clearly not fit for office on a medical basis. And I think that's actually concerning, because these people have a lot of power. And I don't know why voters are so apt to just ignore these kinds of things to win for their tribe. But I also think if you look at the general cuteness of most politicians, I guess maybe they think they can slip them in and get away with it.
Yeah, that's all they want to do. And now it's I love watching the spin after these things, because now on Twitter people are going, it's not that hard to be senator. It's not that hard. Well, it should be hard. We should be challenging people who have the purse, who are in power, because they've got so much power over our lives, and they're doing whatever they can to concentrate even more of it in the federal government. So make it hard. All right, that's what she said. Panel's going to stay here. It is game night. It is Thursday. We got a good one. It's called Biden Time. You're going to play along a little later. First up, we got to talk about big pants people stuff, including Vladimir Putin, who has the West on edge after once again giving a bizarre speech about war and bombs. Is he still threatening nukes? We'll get into it with Mike Baker. He's got all the answers on everything ever. He's next.